Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack complex research and pull out the key insights, hopefully making them useful for you.
Today, we're really getting into a core human puzzle. It's this contradiction, you know?
Yeah, on one side, you have most straight men actively looking for a connection, for romance with women. It's everywhere: music, movies, marriage.
Exactly. That's the dominant narrative. But then you have this flip side. Some men end up feeling this, well, deep dislike or even hatred towards all women.
So the big question is, how does that happen?
Yeah.
How do you get from wanting a partner to generalizing that negativity to an entire group?
Well, our deep dive today centers on that psychological path. Franz Jedlicka called it misogynization. It's basically when a man experiences something negative, something painful.
Could be anything, really.
Could be directly related to women, or it could be, completely separate past hurts. And he takes that pain and just spreads it, generalizes it onto all women. They become the scapegoat for everything.
Okay, scapegoating can feel a bit abstract. The source had a really good analogy, didn't it?
Yeah, the Brian story. So picture this guy, Brian. He's fuming in a supermarket queue.
Right.
And the guy in front, who happens to have red hair, is fussing over coupons. Suddenly, Brian just snaps, punches the guy.
Yeah.
And he yells, "I hate redheads. This kid, Jimmy, ginger kid, bullied me relentlessly back in school."
Okay. So the connection is clear. The past anger at Jimmy
Gets unleashed completely unfairly on this random redhead in the present, just because of the hair color. That's the core idea of misogynization, projecting old pain onto a whole group, in this case, women.
Before we unpack where that pain starts, let's talk stakes.
Yeah.
Why is understanding this so important? It sounds personal, but it's bigger, right?
Oh, much bigger. This isn't just about dating or marriage. It's actually linked to global stability and well-being. There's solid peace research showing that societies with greater gender equality, they tend to be more peaceful.
Happier too, and more prosperous, economically speaking.
Exactly. We're not just talking feelings here. You look at the data, Global Peace Index, World Happiness Report, the Gender Gap Report from the WEF.
You see the pattern.
Consistently, more equality often means more security, better economies, more innovation. So the political and social implications are massive.
Okay, but we need to be super clear on one point the source emphasizes.
Absolutely critical. Women are not responsible for men developing misogyny. This is about a man's internal process, looking for somewhere to put his disappointment, his pain, a scapegoat.
It's about male psychology, male socialization.
Precisely. So let's start at the beginning. Childhood. Those formative years. How do they plant the seeds for this?
Attachment theory seems key here. Bowlby, Ainsworth.
Foundational stuff, yeah. How a child is cared for early on really shapes their ability to connect later. Secure attachment, getting that consistent care, affection, attention.
That builds things like empathy.
Self-confidence.
Exactly, crucial building blocks. But if that attachment is insecure, well, that's where problems start.
What kind of problems?
It can really stunt empathy development. It can undermine self-confidence. And it often fosters this undercurrent of anxiety, maybe even aggression. And if a guy grows up lacking that inner confidence, that empathy.
He's much more vulnerable later on, right?
Yeah.
Vulnerable to, say, toxic ideas about what masculinity means. And crucially, he might lack the basic empathy needed to even recognize the disadvantages women often face. He just won't see it.
Violence in the home also plays a huge role, according to the sources.
Definitely. If a boy sees or experiences violence, say, the father hits him and the mother doesn't step in.
Even if she couldn't, maybe she was scared herself.
Right. But the boy might perceive it as her failing to protect him. That memory, that feeling can stick.
And if the mother is the one being violent,
then it's a very direct, powerful, negative experience associated with a woman, shaping his view long term.
which connects to this, frankly, shocking statistic in the source material about corporal punishment.
Yeah, it's startling. And as of 2025, nearly 2/3 of countries globally think US, Russia, China, India still legally allow hitting children.
So it's plausible that places without bans might see more of this generalized misogyny.
Highly likely. And there are interesting cultural nuances, too, like in some MENA countries where traditionally a woman's sphere of influence might be mainly the home.
So physical discipline could become one of her main ways to exert power.
Potentially, yes. And it's not just parents. The source mentions female teachers or kindergarten staff using physical punishment where it's still allowed, even in parts of the U.S.
Each instance just adds another piece of evidence for that negative generalization.
Exactly. Another brick in the wall, psychologically speaking.
So if that early emotional grounding is unstable, a positive male role model becomes vital. But what if the father isn't there or isn't helpful?
Huge impact. Maybe he's physically absent work, divorce. Or maybe he's there, but just emotionally checked out,
Yeah.
distant.
Often because of his own issues, his own past.
Right. And the son misses out. He doesn't see what healthy, empathetic manhood looks like. He doesn't see a loving relationship between parents modeled for him.
And it gets worse if the dad actively talks down about women.
Oh, yeah. If he uses slurs, generalizes negatively, the son just absorbs that. It becomes his template.
Okay, but the flip side is also tricky. The source talks about mothers being too close, especially if the dad is absent. That feels like a really delicate area.
It is, and it's crucial how we frame this. The source isn't saying it's the mother's fault in a blaming way. It's analyzing the son's perception and how that feeds into misogynization.
So things like maybe over-mothering, sharing adult problems that kids shouldn't hear, being overly controlling as he gets older.
Yes, that kind of emotional burden. But the key point is this dynamic, the mother's perhaps clinginess or need for control, is often a result of the father being absent or disengaged.
I see. So the son feels burdened by the mother, but the root cause might actually be the father's absence. He misdirects the blame.
Exactly. And then you see signs like, feeling irritated every time mom calls. That's a signal.
The source also mentioned ambition as abuse.
Yeah, like a mother pushing her son towards a grand career artist, doctor that he doesn't actually want. It creates this chronic frustration because it's not his purpose. All fuel for later generalization.
And then there are the more straightforward conflicts, fighting with sisters, maybe feeling parents favored the girls.
All contributes. Every negative interaction, especially early on, can build that foundation for seeing women negatively later.
Then comes adolescence, young adulthood, peer groups.
Yeah, the male peer group. Unfortunately, in many circles, putting down girls or women is like a way to prove your masculinity. It's performative.
And now layer the internet on top of that. Social media.
Huge amplifier. You've got the whole manosphere influencers pushing anti-feminist ideas, pickup artists teaching men to see women as targets.
Objects to be hunted.
Pretty much. And this stuff really appeals to guys who are already feeling insecure, lacking that self-confidence we talked about earlier from attachment issues.
It gives them a simple explanation for their struggles.
Yeah.
Blame women.
Exactly. But often, the most acute pain comes from actual relationship experiences failing.
Rejection. First love ending badly, maybe getting cheated on, or just feeling constantly unlucky with women.
These leave what the source calls initial wounds. They really color how you see future interactions.
And we absolutely have to talk about pornography here. The source flags it as a major factor now.
Massive. It's free. It's constant. And so much of it is, frankly, degrading. It focuses almost entirely on male pleasure, often portrays violence.
And gives a totally warped view of sex,
Yeah.
right? And women's sexuality.
Completely warped. It sets up these wild expectations. Real intimacy, real connection. It's nothing like what's often shown. So men are primed for disappointment.
Plus the language used in titles and descriptions, sluts, whores.
That normalizes hatred. It seeps into the subconscious, makes objectification seem okay.
Then there are workplaces and marriages. More opportunities for negative experiences to be generalized.
Right. Now, statistically, women face far more workplace harassment. But the source notes, if a man does feel harassed, excluded, or passed over by a female boss or colleague,
That specific instance can become proof for his generalization.
it can feed the narrative, yes. Then marriage and divorce. Constant criticism, feeling unappreciated, sex being rejected, infidelity. That's obviously deeply painful.
And divorce itself could be traumatic, especially around custody.
Yeah, even if a man wasn't super involved in childcare before, losing custody in a divorce can feel like a profound loss of identity, of his role.
Add financial stress like alimony, and you get this potent mix of hurt, resentment, powerlessness.
Making it easy to paint women as a group as the cause of his life falling apart.
This personal pain often seems to merge into a wider sense of frustration, especially for older single men, say over 50.
Yeah, that group often struggles. They might not have fully grasped how much things have changed with gender equality.
Women being more financially independent, better educated, more assertive about what they want or don't want.
Exactly. They're not necessarily looking for a provider anymore. And some men in that age group haven't adapted. Maybe they've let themselves go physically or their communication skills aren't great.
But they still expect to attract much younger, attractive women.
Right. And they often don't get honest feedback on why it's not working. So the frustration just builds. They meet reality and it's disappointing.
And underpinning a lot of this is just loneliness.
Huge factor. Lack of close friends, loss of work routine after retirement, Loneliness affects how you see the world, your politics even.
You start looking for someone to blame for feeling empty or disconnected.
Yeah, politicians. Or maybe you latch onto an ideology like anti-feminism because it offers a simple target. So the question for a man feeling this way becomes, is my problem really with women? Or is it that I see a relationship as my only way out of feeling lonely in general?
That brings us to the core psychological crisis, the lack of meaning. The source brings in Viktor Frankl here.
Logotherapy, yeah. Frankl talks about the existential vacuum, this feeling of inner emptiness, like life has no purpose. He saw it as a major source of aggression and dissatisfaction.
And the way out is finding meaning.
Yes, through dedication to a task, loving someone, appreciating beauty. But Frankl stressed that the most fulfilling meaning comes from using your talents to help others, to contribute to something bigger than yourself. Purely selfish goals leave you empty.
So if a man feels that emptiness, that chronic anger, and lacks that outward-focused purpose, women might just be the scapegoat for that deeper void.
It's a strong possibility. How does that void turn into hate, though? The source mentions Arno Gruen's work.
Right, the idea that behind intense hatred, there's often buried grief.
Or self-hatred.
Exactly. Grief from maybe an unloved childhood, pain that's too hard to face directly, so you project it outward as hate. Or the other mechanism Gruen talks about.
Hating what you secretly want but feel you can't have.
Precisely. Success, affection, maybe children. If it feels unattainable, hating it becomes a defense against the pain of lacking it. Okay, so if someone recognizes this pattern in themselves, the generalizing, the projection from old wounds, what's the path forward?
Knowledge is the first step, confronting the actual facts about gender inequality.
So looking at reliable data, not just opinions online.
Right.
Things like the WEF Gender Gap Report.
Yes. Or the Women, Peace and Security Index, the World Bank's reports. Understand the reality of discrimination.
And remembering that connection we mentioned earlier, more equality equals more peace, prosperity, happiness. It's not just a women's issue. It benefits everyone.
Absolutely. Understanding that shifts it from a personal complaint to a societal goal. Then, for actually talking across divides, the source suggests a specific tool.
The empathy circle. How does that work?
It's simple but powerful. Developed by Edwin Rutsch. Basically, one person speaks for a short time. The listener then has to repeat back what they heard, not agree, not argue, just reflect it back.
Until the speaker says, yes, you heard me.
Exactly. The goal isn't agreement. It's simply the feeling of being truly listened to. Even if you still disagree on the topic, you walk away feeling, well, a bit better because you were heard.
It keeps the conversation going instead of ending in slammed doors.
Right. It fosters connection despite disagreement. We should also mention there are positive movements out there promoting healthier ideas of masculinity.
Like he for she, white ribbon.
Equimundo, focusing on involved fatherhood, they offer alternative models to the old, rigid, often damaging stereotypes.
This has been definitely a deep dive. Unpacking the roots of this personal anger and seeing its wider ripples is, well, it's crucial.
Yeah, and we want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought, especially if you feel trapped by those traditional expectations of masculinity. Always tough, always strong, always winning.
What's the thought?
Just try searching online for the word masculinities. Plural. Social science confirms that what it means to be a man actually varies hugely across cultures, across history.
So there isn't just one way.
Not at all. Realizing that, seeing that diversity, can be incredibly freeing. It's a soothing message, really, for anyone struggling to live up to some impossible, rigid ideal they feel they have to meet. It might not be the only path.
Something to think about.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll catch you on the next one.